Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast and Agent's Guide. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Ashley Gebora, with Gebora Realty Team, brokered by Blair Realty Group. And I'm also here with my lovely co-host, Clint Nabors, of the Nabors team, also with Blair Realty Group. Remember, everything we say here is for educational purposes only. Please do your own research and make sure you verify rules and regulations in your area. Today we have a most special guest in the Pod Lab, Mr. Matt Brown with Encompass Lending. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about you and your time in lending.
Okay, great. So I'm originally from the automotive industry and decided to move into mortgages in early May of 2001. So I've been in the industry a little over 24 years. My business partners and I started a mortgage company in May of 2008, and we're still in existence today. We're in Katy.
2008. I think that's so impressive.
Yeah, 17 years.
That was the best year to start a mortgage.
The absolute best year to start a mortgage. Because, we were all loan officers with different companies, and that was the whole subprime debacle when all these banks were going out of business. So my, some friends of mine and I said, let's form a mortgage company. And they formed it, and then I came on about 6 months later and became an owner, and the rest is history. But that was a crazy time. Clint knows it.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time.
Oh, I know. He's a agent from the 1900s.
True.
Very seasoned.
Barely was in the 1900s.
Very exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. We talk about that with Blair Realty Group, like starting it at the end of 2022, like finishing a peak market of like, what a great time to start a brokerage. But you know what? If you can make it during that time, you're going to make it.
That's
you're
exactly
good.
right.
Yeah.
And we tell our loan officers that too. If you can just, weather this storm, you're going to be doing great. And so that's what we coach is we coach, planting seeds and watering. So that's, you just have to continue to do the right practices, best practices.
Well, those are the people that you want long-term, the ones that can make it in all markets, not just sitting there waiting for the handouts.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Ryan and I had a great conversation about that yesterday, and he knew all about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's great coaching from you, Clint.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the agents that decided to get licensed during the COVID market, a lot of them didn't even renew their license, after their first 2 years. I mean, it's hard. You have to work this business. You got to treat it like a full-time job.
You do. And I'll tell you, one of the statistics from last December, our industry had just over 400,000 loan officers just a couple years ago. And we're now under 100,000. I think it's like 97.
Oh, that's
7,000. That is a huge decrease.
Yeah.
So it's, obviously the people that are still in the business are the people that are doing good business.
Yeah.
And then when this turns around, it's just going to be more business for all of us. Same thing for realtors. So if you can just make it through, it'll be really good times.
I know, exactly. Like all the work that you're doing right now, the seeds that you're planting.
Yes.
I mean, that there will be a time where that's going to be very fruitful, but you have to keep working
You just
it.
have to keep working it.
Yep.
Yeah, and
100%.
it's taking longer to get to that better market. We thought that we would be there now, and it keeps pushing out 6 months. I think it'll be sometime next year. So the guys that are hanging in there, we're like, just hang in a little bit longer. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is everybody was saying like, oh, we're going to wait till after the election. Well, there's this kind of wait period after the election where there's so much uncertainty, that time with the transition in power that you have to wait. It's not right after the election. Things are different. I mean,
Correct.
You got to wait on it. So
we're such a big economy. It's just this big, slow-moving animal. You can make changes, but it takes 6 to 9 months just to see some small changes. It's trying to move them.
Well, and things with like the tariffs and things like that, it's just creating uncertainty for a lot of people. I mean, we got to wait for a little stability, and that's what a lot of people want to do. They don't know where their jobs stand. It's a lot of things.
Right. Well, the Feds are meeting 3 more times this year, September, October, and December. So we're hoping to see a couple decreases in the Fed funds rate, although there's not a direct correlation with mortgages. We've always seen mortgage markets react to the Fed's drop. So let's hope. I mean, right now we're in the high 6s on average for conventional loan and mid 6s for VA and FHA. So the market is trending down a little bit. I mean, we were just at 7.25 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah, that is a good sign. And I think it just, it kind of changes people's attitude, buyers' attitude. If they just hear that there's some positivity going on with the Feds, they're like, okay, now's the time. Even though it may not have a direct correlation.
Correct.
Well, we see the rates tend to drop before the Fed. If they think with confidence it's going to drop, then the rate will drop a little bit. Then when the Fed does drop the rate and the rate doesn't drop, we're like, oh, it already dropped.
Right, exactly. No, and that's true. And then sometimes they anticipate that drop, like Clint was saying, and they do it, and then the Feds don't, and then it goes, we see an increase in mortgage rates, just an eighth of a point or a quarter in just a week to 10 days. And so I'm like, ugh. But that's exactly what they do. They know when it's kind of coming.
So today we're talking about kind of like it's kind of an all-encompassing like hurdles in lending, things to be mindful of. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was you had a crazy wire fraud situation. Is there anything you can share about that story?
Sure.
Before we get into a couple questions about it?
Sure. So my borrower was he was an expat coming from Singapore, and he called me in the airport, and we were closing the next day, and he had his family in tow, 2 young kids under 8 years old in tow, and he and I were on the phone, and he says, hey, do I wire monies or is it a cashier's check? I said, you can do either or. He goes, well, I prefer to wire. I said, if you want to wire, call the title company and get the wiring instructions, and we'll just, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Well, he didn't call the title company. He was just in a hurry. He emailed them.
Yeah.
And of course, it was hacked. And he ends up sending $84,000 to Nigeria. And
gosh.
I've got a great resource for that, certified ID, and then I know someone in the Secret Service, and they got involved, and they got his money back in 5 days, all $84,000.
That's amazing.
Which is so rare.
That's very rare.
It's so rare that they got it back.
I mean, I've seen that happen. I mean, one of our pastors years ago, he was going to buy a small farm, $50,000 down payment, and that money was gone, and they never recovered it. I mean, it destroyed him. He ended up moving to another state. I mean, it just broke him.
Yep.
I mean, it's a terrible situation.
And 84,000, I think 8,400 is a lot. I'm like, man, if you lose that.
Yeah.
84,000, and luckily this borrower he had an additional 84, and we still closed. But still that would have been. And he stayed calm, but I would have been a nervous.
I would not have been calm
because that's so rare. Even the title company said that it's less than 5% that you ever get that money back.
Oh, less than 5%.
Less than 5%.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing international laws
I know.
and banks and
Anywhere.
unlaw.
Right. And they were telling me what happens is when that money goes, it goes into a Nigerian bank account, and it just kind of sits there for a little period of time because they have these people that are called mules. And so these mules come and get it, and they don't really know what to do with it. The goal is just to get it there. And they think once it gets there, it's going to season, and they've got some time because very rarely does anybody even know where it's at. So but now when the U.S. government gets involved, they know that they come over there and they just grab it. And maybe the banks are involved in it over there as well because they're supposedly they're very gracious when the bank comes and gets the money and they take it out because they're probably the bank figures, hey, it's 1 out of every 1,000. Here, we got caught this one. Oh well.
Yeah.
And that's what the Secret Service guy was explaining to me that, they just kind of like,
Cost of doing business.
It's the cost of doing business. Yeah.
Wow.
But think of how many people don't get it back, less than 5%. So they're making tons of money.
Oh my gosh, that's astonishing.
Yes.
So where do we see the most wire fraud issues? Like, is it usually coming from the title company?
Yes. I mean, at least for what I'm involved with, because it's all closings, it's all people sending money to the title company. It's all.
So, and it's also mostly buyers.
It is.
That are most at risk.
Right. And you'll notice on every title company's email, it has for the last few years, it's bright red, about wire fraud and how to be aware of that.
And most of us put it like even in our signature, like a warning about wire fraud.
Right. And it's so important to call the title company and have some dialogue with your escrow officer, because what they do is they go in and they, what I was told is they've got AI that's set up for this. And so the AI, they're already breaking into all these title companies. These hacksters are already in every title company, and they set AI up on the back part. And so they're waiting for a succession of words to come in. Who do I send to? How much? Where? When? When they start getting in this type of dialogue, then a human jumps in.
Yeah.
Now a human, takes they copy the email signatures, and you think you're talking to the escrow officer, and you're not.
Yeah.
Looks just like their email.
Yeah, it's like one letter off or something, or a dot here or a letter here, and you don't know it because you're used to seeing it, but it's not right.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you send it, and it goes to a foreign account.
So what are some security measures that agents can take to best represent their clients and help prevent maybe a fraud issue?
I mean, just communication, really. I mean, it's getting involved and helping them walk through that. Because, the buyers don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't. And we've been in so many transactions. We know exactly what to look for. So I talk about this all the time about becoming a trusted advisor. getting to know every facet of that closing and trying to help get involved, because that's what's going to make you referable, is to keep them out of trouble, have their get their questions answered. And
I think for agents too, like if your client loses $84,000, do you think they're going to go close the next day? Like you're going to lose out on your own commission too. I mean, because they can't close now.
No, you're exactly right.
So
yeah, I think with that also, tell that story, like share that story, because when people hear it and like, oh my gosh, that actually happened, and somebody lost $84,000 and almost couldn't close, and they were fortunate they were able to, but they might say, well, I wouldn't be able to.
Correct.
And maybe they'll think twice and they'll actually make that extra phone call. I'm seeing a lot of title companies are going to things like certified ID,
Yes.
and they're now incorporating some of these things where you have to have, there's facial recognition, there's multi-factor verifications, and they're using
authentication codes,
all kinds of
stuff.
authentication.
Yep.
So teaming up with a title company and that's using some of those safety nets already. I think that we'll probably see them mostly going to something like that, I would think, in the future, because it is so rampant.
Yeah, and there's such a there's such a precedence for it right now, and I take my hats off to y'all, because you training the mentees here. I mean, again, we've been in this for such a long time, and then to give them a heads up on what to look for, that would be a great training tool for y'all. And I know y'all talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, and new agents, they're inundated with so many things. And,
Yes.
like you said, they don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And you get into this process, and then that's the last thing they're thinking about is fraud. They're just trying to get to their first
Get
closing.
to the closing. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. I mean, you guys know there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and it just takes one little error can really unravel the whole process.
Yeah. And there is some agent responsibility there. There was a lawsuit in the last couple of years where an agent was at a coffee shop and they thought they were on the coffee shop's Wi-Fi. And it was like a mimic Wi-Fi from a scammer. And they were pulling up client-sensitive information. And they ended up being able to scam the client based on the information the agent was pulling up in the coffee shop. And actually that agent was held liable for not being on a secure network. And so agents need to be mindful of that too. I mean, we have a responsibility. We can't just be willy-nilly pulling up people's sensitive documents and sensitive information. So something to be aware of, agents.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on wire fraud?
No, I mean, again, I just think it goes back to awareness and education. I mean, that's going to save every transaction like that. It really will.
Right. Let's talk about some lending hurdles. Now, where do you see the biggest hurdles as far as like paperwork and documentation that might delay closings?
Well, I mean,
Getting it?
Yeah.
Getting it.
Yeah. Actually receiving the contract. Yeah. But no, there's all types of hurdles. There are. And we talk about this in Mortgage Mondays, in our classes, people changing jobs in the middle of the process, people incurring additional debt in the middle of the process, people getting divorced in the middle of the process. That's happened before too. So there's so many things that can happen behind the scenes. So for us as a mortgage lender and the realtors know as well, it's just trying to set the right expectation out of the gate as to what exactly we're looking for and what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Those are some key hurdles.
When Casey and I purchased our first house in, I think it was 2008 or 9, apparently the lender was sending us documents and it was going to my spam folder. So I didn't know. And also I was young and I didn't know the process at all. And our agent was not educating us throughout the way. And I didn't get any phone call about closing the next day. So I called my agent and I was like, hey, are we closing tomorrow? I haven't heard anything. And she was like, Ashley, you have not been taking care of your lending documents. You have not signed that. He sent that to you days ago. And I was like, I don't have anything in my email. Turns out it was another spam situation. I was like, why wouldn't anybody tell me? If you knew I wasn't signing why wouldn't you say that to me? I'm over here I took off work tomorrow to go to closing. Yeah. Spam. I talked about spam in a recent episode. Obviously be checking your spam folders, but agents, it's always a good idea to follow up the lender.
Yes.
Make sure that your clients are on top of it because sometimes they just don't know.
Right. And for us, it's incumbent upon us to help keep them on track. So on my team, we have kind of a traffic light, a red light, yellow light, green light, in expectation, out of expectation. So every day we know where that loan's supposed to be. And if it's not there, Sarah, if she's on it, why didn't you sign your documents? We've only got 3 days for compliance to get those documents signed, so we're on it.
Yeah, on-time closing is super important. I think it's good for agents too. I mean, we just kind of need to stay organized with the timeline. Has the appraisal been ordered? Has this happened? Because I'll tell you, not all lenders are on top of it.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I'll tell you, I use this example all the time. And for the process, it can be like running the football for 97 yards untouched. And if you fumble on the 3-yard line, that's the only thing people remember is that you fumbled on the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
And there's so much that goes on from start to finish, and so it's important for us to know each day where we're supposed to be, and just trying to coach the agents and coaching the buyers as to where we're at and what we need, and being proactive and staying ahead of any issues that we see coming up. So. And
I know you mentioned this yesterday in Mortgage Monday, but how many people are involved in the real estate process?
We counted 31 people one time.
Yeah.
Between the realtors and the surveyors and the appraisers, underwriters, processors, the agents.
Yeah.
I mean, title companies, their attorneys. I mean, we're talking with 30 plus people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people to keep updated throughout the process. And then if you're busy, like we're having a great month, we've got 12 or 14 closings. That's a lot of correspondence in 30 days.
Right. And I feel like as agents, we're
You're
kind of the
always on the
ringleader
phone.
of that circus.
Exactly.
And so we need to follow up with everybody.
Right. And we really lean on our agents too, because for us, it's a partnership. I mean, we're an extension of y'all, right? And we need to work together because we say this all the time, it takes a village.
Yes.
It does.
It does take a village.
Yeah, I think as an agent, when you're creating your list of preferred lenders, I like to know that all of my preferred lenders all have systems. They all have assistants, and there has to be a team there. If it's just one person trying to do everything and there's no systems, it's probably going to be a pretty bad experience.
Yeah.
Something's going to fall apart, and it'll get done 3 weeks after the closing date. We see that a lot.
Right.
So it is important to get to know your lenders and pick people that have these systems in place, that have it's tried and true, and that it is a partnership.
Right. And the importance of that, having a team and, Karen and the support system that you have, it's very important because, if you're only one person, you're only going to be able to do so much during the month, and you're susceptible to making errors. We're not perfect, and there's so much going on. So if you have people that can be a second set of eyes for you, and that's the one thing with my team, we all stay in our own lane. I know what I'm good at. Sarah knows what she's good at. Victoria knows what she's good at, and literally we stay in our own lane, and then we meet every morning and kind of huddle up and then break.
Right.
And then we do our own thing. I don't micromanage my team.
Good.
They're all very seasoned, they're all very experienced, and they're all adults.
Yeah.
I trust them. And you have to have that.
So to kind of prevent some of these hurdles that could happen, where can agents maybe do a little bit of due diligence when they are first getting with a buyer?
So I say this all the time. The agents have so much authority. These buyers are going to the agents for everything. Where do I get my insurance? Who's my mortgage guy? And a lot of times that's why it's so important on these Mortgage Mondays to coach these new agents that you are a trusted advisor. You have so much authority in the transaction. So I stress the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, having the right teams, the right title companies, the right inspectors. We work with great appraisers.
Right.
So again, it's having the right people around you, surrounding yourself with the right people because they're going to make you look great. And so for that, we've got the agents that we do business with, we are coaching them constantly on things that are helpful to us hey, before we even see them. You have a job. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes these people, they're agents will show houses and people just had a bankruptcy a couple months ago. And we're the ones that find that out because when you make loan application, that's what we stress all the time. Please introduce them to us as quick as possible because we're going to do that due diligence for you. We're going to get them pre-approved ASAP. Then you can go show them 15 or 20 houses. But don't do that beforehand because there's just so many things that unravel the transaction.
And I would say that's hardest for new agents because they get so afraid
excited.
of spooking a client that they're like, oh, I don't want. We just had one who didn't want to get rep documents signed. I'm like, well, you're not even allowed to open a door without that. Like you have to be brave enough to have that conversation. But financing is the other hurdle.
Right.
Where they're like, well, I'm going to show them a few houses and then we'll talk about getting pre-approved. Okay. You need to be willing to waste your time then if that's the case because there's a lot that can't get financed just yet.
Right. And I think too, setting the right tone up front. That buyer is going to respect you more when they can see that you're running a really good business and you're asking the right questions and you're coaching them throughout the process. I think that, but if they one little inkling that they're going to, have their way in the process, then it's tough. And now they're driving the bus and you're just following them,
Yeah. One thing I learned early on, I think it was the deal you and I did probably 15 years ago. And it was my client had a side job. It was like his fun job, and he had a really good oil income salary, 6 figures. And so we're like, okay, it's probably gonna be fine. So we get pre-approval, everything's good. And then you got the tax return, looked at it, and he wrote off like $100,000 loss.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh my God.
He only had like $30K in income, and it killed the whole thing. And after that, I was like, I want you to pull tax return, like look at tax returns before we do. So we changed our process a little bit after that.
That's exactly right. No, I remember that was at least 15 years ago. And so that's why it's so important for, to partner with a good lender that's going to find that out right up front because that can save a lot of grief.
Right.
It really can because there's so many things that can go wrong in the pre-approval process.
Right. So past the pre-approval process, let's talk a little bit about appraisal. What are some things that agents can do to help prep their buyers for the appraisal process? And then what is your process if it comes in low?
That's a great question. I don't know that I have a great answer for that because, I mean, really, you can't do a whole lot. I mean, the appraiser goes out there, but I think you can set the right expectation as far as maybe telling them what the comps are and let them know, is it priced right, and do you think it's going to be fine? Because, I mean, we've had several come in low in the last few weeks, and I think it's because, and I've noticed it's with younger agents, because I think the seller just, hey, I have to get this for my house. And then they end up selling it for that, and it doesn't appraise.
Yeah.
And so there's 3 things that can happen, actually 4 things that can happen if the appraisal comes in low, because we as lenders, we can only lend on the lesser of the sales price or the appraised value. So if you want to pay $500, it only comes in at $495. Our number starts at $495. Your down payment, everything starts from that. And then at closing, you come to closing with the additional $5,000.
Right.
Okay. So, but if it comes in low, the first thing we try to do is we try to get the seller to come down to the appraised value. If they don't come down to the appraised value, then the buyer pays the difference. That's number 2. Or they negotiate somewhere in the middle. That's number 3. Number 4 is then we put in for what's called a reconsideration of value, an ROV, and now we're protesting. So now we're going back to the appraisal management company and saying, hey, look, appraiser looks like he did a great job, but he forgot, maybe what about this comp, or what about that comp? Or we had a closing, this house closed the day, a couple days after the appraisal was done. Let's try to use this as a new comp. And sometimes that can bring the value back up a little bit.
Right.
So those are really the only options, are those 4.
Right.
Or terminate.
Or terminate. And we never want to terminate.
We don't want to terminate.
No, right.
So one thing I've learned over the years is working with appraisers, I don't just provide them comps. I like to ask them, is it okay if I leave you the data that I found?
Right.
And because some appraisers, they get weird about that, and they'll don't do my job for me. I know how to do my. And then a lot of them will say, oh, absolutely, 100%, that'd be fantastic. But I found if you don't ask them, then they may kind of push back, and then you don't want to start the process off on the wrong foot with them, because they hold the keys to the final closing.
They're powerful.
They really
are, because they can make or break a deal. But I think that the strategy Clint's talking about is just, again, trying to help.
And build rapport with the appraiser. If they let you, if they'll call, if I see appraiser, and I save all of them in my phone and I put appraiser, so I know, it's the same 20 guys a lot of times.
In our area.
Right. And so I'll answer when they call and just try to chat it up and, get to know them. And sometimes they'll ask me questions, and, and eventually you become kind of the market expert in the area.
Yes.
Now they call me to ask when they get stuck. So that helps me, because, if you can build that relationship where, hey, they're calling me when they get stuck on one and they want my advice of what the market's actually doing. When they come to do my property, they kind of just think in their mind, well, this is Clint, he's the guy we call anyway. So I guess we'll just err to that side. So be nice to them and be helpful.
Right.
And I've had agents that won't help them, and they call and ask for help for top agents. And these guys will call me and they're like, I talked to so-and-so and they were just a jerk about the whole thing. And I'm like, well, that's going to hurt them later.
Right, exactly.
That's not going to help anybody.
Yeah. It's like anything else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being nice.
Yeah. No.
And trying to help the situation. We're all in it together. And nothing happens until that contract is written and the appraised value comes in. Because after that, it goes downhill.
And don't try to persuade them too hard. I tried that one time a long time ago, and they threatened to turn me into track and whole things, and make me lose my license, and you can't.
Were you
do
trying
that.
to bribe them, Clint?
I wasn't bribing, but I was trying to
strongly dinner on me, and we'll talk about the numbers.
Exactly.
So I learned my lesson not to over.
Right. Well, and sometimes you get these appraisers who are just, they're just taking it all in and really being appreciative.
Yeah.
And then some other ones are like, hey, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need to listen to a realtor tell me what comps are and things like that. But I think it's the way you present it and how you, again, set that expectation on this is where we think, this is why maybe the value is here. But, you guys know this, we have to order through an appraisal management company, an AMC. There could be 400 or 500, appraisers in this pool.
Yeah.
So we, like Clint was saying, in our area, it could be the same 20 guys.
Yeah.
And so the one good thing that we have the relationships with a few of these AMCs, we actually have our own panel. So we don't know of the 5 that we've chosen, which 5 are going to go out, but we know there are 5 good ones.
So there's consistency there.
Yes, there's consistency there. So we can't pick them, but we can go from a much smaller rotation, and so that's helped out a bunch.
At least you're getting someone that knows the area that way.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
When this first started, you remember they were, Cinco Ranch, and they were coming from San Antonio or Fredericksburg or wherever.
They were all over
Schulenburg.
Texas.
Yeah, Schulenburg, and they're calling us, and thinking Cinco Ranch were ranch properties, and
yeah.
or it was farming, and some, when that first started happening. But now they're, the appraisers that are in the area, they're area specialists. They are, and but that's the one thing too, is that we just want to continue to try to help them, because they're more inclined to want to come in at the contract price.
Right.
That's all they're obligated to do, is hit value.
Yeah. Well, to validate you, I think setting expectations is the best answer you can provide for that, because that is what it comes down to with agents. Because I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups with agents, and especially new agents. That's one that I see on there a lot. Like, one agent was complaining a while back because they were like, listing agents, why are you not listing at value? Because this didn't, they were blaming the listing agent. You also have a due diligence there to do a CMA for your buyer, so that you can set that expectation.
Exactly.
Like, this is where we should put in an offer. This may be overpriced. This may not. And then just come up with the best strategy.
I agree. Buyers
agents and listing agents both need to be running those numbers. And then same thing as a listing agent. Hopefully you have a good idea if you're listing a little high. Like you talked about, $495, $500, that's just a difference in opinion, I think.
Correct.
But when you're tens of thousands of dollars off, okay, somebody's off there. It could be the appraiser. It could also be the agents.
That's right.
You mentioned employment earlier, and maybe that's a conversation we need to have with our buyers. But what about, like, if they let us know up front that there will be a job transition? How should that be communicated to you?
So, a lot of times,
ASAP.
and a lot of times that doesn't impact it so much, because we can actually close somebody without a job. We can't close them. We can get a full approval. Full loan approval. But we need one paycheck before we close.
Right.
I have seen like doctors right now. There's a doctor program. You just need a letter and showing their salary and a contract, copy of the contract, and they'll close on that. So there's a couple things I've heard that certain situations. So that's why you just send it to the lender. Say, here, take this to underwriting. Let me know here's what we have. What do we need to do? And can we do a 30-day, or do we need to look at 45 or 60 days because of this?
That's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. So again, everything always goes back to communication. Because we're going to find out. Once it gets into our processing, then all the skeletons are coming out. We're going to see everything. We've got things going on in the background that people are clueless about.
Yeah, the VOEs. That'll catch it right there.
Yeah, the VOE will catch it right away. We've had that before. We call for VOE, and this person doesn't work here anymore. We call the guy. He goes, "Oh yeah, I've got another job. And I'm going to be making more. Well, is it another job in the same industry? Are you going from Dairy Queen to Target, or what does that look like?
Is your nightmare when they go from W-2 to 1099?
Oh, you're done.
Oh, you're toast.
You're toast. You are so toast. Yeah. Now we need 2 years.
Now we're hard money.
Yeah. Now we're
exactly 2 years.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Realtors are the worst, right?
Oh yeah. No, they do.
Yeah, they probably close on their first house and they're like, okay, I'm ready. I got my little down payment now.
Right.
I had a crazy situation where we were working off a job offer letter. And in the job offer letter, I know I told you this before because it was one of these like weird, crazy situations. She was a veteran. She was using her VA loan. And the job offer had one condition on it. And the condition was that she pass a drug test. And so the lender was like, this is I've never had this situation, but you need to go ahead and take your drug test. So essentially I was like, oh my God, it's like she's being drug tested to get finance, but it was a condition as a part of her job.
Right. Yeah. Because if she doesn't test clean, she doesn't get hired and can't do the loan.
Yeah.
Well, anything that the underwriter sees, they're gonna add that to the.
And that was the underwriter was like, they need to go and take their drug test so we can approve them.
Clint, that is such a great point what Clint said, because anything the underwriter sees in our process, they can't unsee it.
Like inspection reports.
They can't unsee it. Yeah.
All those things
so there's a lot of things right now. Like we've been getting a lot of these non-realty addendums. Mm-hmm. For us, that non-realty addendum has to say zero. Mm-hmm. Zero. So one came across this morning, 7,500. There's couches, there's fridges. Mm-hmm. We have to have it at zero.
That messes up your appraisal.
It does. It does. Because they want to make sure, the lender wants to make sure that the items being left behind aren't attributed to the value of the house.
So a lot of the lenders they're having us switch it over to a bill of sale. And it's completely outside the closing. That way, it's just between the two people. And so I have a bill of sale that we've created for our team, and you can do it at whatever dollar amount, $0 or $1. I did one the other day. It was like $9,000 worth of stuff. Right. But we kept it completely
just
separate.
Don't send it to us.
And we don't send it. It's not attached to the contract. It's an agreement outside of closing. Yeah. And then they're just negotiating how they want to pay that, Venmo or cash or whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. But that keeps it clean, keeps it out of the contract, and it really, that stuff doesn't need to be in the contract. If there's no value attached to it, correct? To the house.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. No, that's a perfect thing to do. Just don't send it to us. because once we
I
see it.
think on that note, though, where agents might struggle with that is if it's like $9,000 worth of stuff and they just add $9,000 to the home, well, then the appraiser's
Not gonna
doesn't
appra-
care
right.
that there's
And he
couches
doesn't
and stuff
know.
coming.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big part of that. That's why. That's the why.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about the underwriter not being able to unsee things. Do you have any advice to agents, like in the amendment when they reference the inspection report, like on repairs and stuff like that being made? If they reference the inspection report, do you guys require the inspection report?
Yes.
Okay.
That's another one. Don't reference it. Because here's the thing.
And that's what we tell our agents, don't reference
Right.
it.
So conventional FHA and VA, you do not have to do any inspections. They're
Right.
not required. VA, you have to do a termite report, a WDI, but that's it. No inspections. And so unless the appraiser goes in and he sees cracks up the walls, or he noticeably, he's not an inspector, but if he sees things that are glaring, like the appliances are missing or there's big cracks going up the wall, he's going to mention it on the appraisal. Underwriter's going to see it, and she's going to want those things repaired.
Right.
Yeah. So the amendment will do a dollar amount if there's a $5,000 adjustment in 12A in our Texas contract. So that'll be one separate amendment. And then if there's a couple of repairs, we'll do a separate amendment from that. So 2 amendments. One has money that goes to title and goes to the lender. The one otherwise just stays between the broker, stays in the file, and that's the one that references the inspection report and has any repairs to it. And every time I get, because I'll get them, it'll have both attached, and I'll say, separate this out, send me 2 separate ones, one for money, this is the one that's going off to everyone.
That makes
the other
sense.
one, we're going to keep it in our file, unless you want to cause a lot of problems with the underwriting and delay closing and all the issues, then I would do it this way. And I have not had an agent argue with it once you explain, because I've had a deal fall apart completely and not close because of it in the past, and then I've had them delayed because of it, because the underwriter got a hold of the thing, and then they looked at the whole inspection and they said, "Oh, we want all of this stuff done," and the seller's like, "Nope, take a hike," and the buyer had to terminate because they couldn't come to an agreement.
And the underwriter doesn't want to see it either. They hope not to see that because if they see it, they've got to address it. And that's more work for them. Now you're resending out the inspector for the same inspector that went out there. He's got to bless it that it's been done.
No, I think that's all good.
But that's training.
Advice.
That's all part of the mentee program. That's all what you guys do. Coaching that, it's so important because, like you say, one little hiccup, you could delay it a week, 2 weeks, or you could kill the contract altogether.
Yeah.
So let's talk about communication. What are some best practices that agents could follow to make sure that all parties are informed? And also really on lending, how often should they be following up with the lender?
I think once a week. I mean, we're following up at each milestone. So I mean, appraisal comes in, you've been approved. I mean, we're reaching out to the
not all
agents.
lenders do that.
Yeah, it's important for us because again, we want to create a great experience. Anybody can do loans. There's thousands of loan officers out there. We're all doing the same. We have to follow the same guidelines. We do the same underwriting, but we're trying to create an experience. We want it to feel good because there's a lot going on, and we want them from start to finish come away with a great experience. I mean, it's why I go to all my closings. I don't do a whole lot while I'm there, but it's putting the cherry on top.
Right.
It's making them feel good that I was willing to take my time and go to the closing. Some loan officers will tell me, my competitors, it's a waste of time. Why would you do that? Your time is better spent prospecting or whatever, but that's a relationship I want to have for many years to come. And in your past database, I mean, those are the people that can refer you a lot of business.
Right. And your best referrer is your current client.
Yes.
And at closing, if you did a good job and they're happy, that's where you ask for the last referral. And their reticular activating system is activated. They're thinking about real estate. They're going to hear other people asking questions about their experience. And we're thinking about buying. And who's your lender? Who's your realtor? So I think the realtor and the lender need to be there, and they need to be training them on how to give referrals. So if their argument is, I'm not going because I'm prospecting, no, that's your prospecting right there.
It is. That is your prospecting. Because I mean, I've had people that I've done literally probably 3 and 4 transactions over 15, 20 years. Which is nice. And it's not just them, it's their family, it's their brothers, it just goes like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about Amazon. That's kind of like our Amazon review right there. I mean, most people don't buy things on Amazon if there are no reviews on it because you feel like it's too risky. Agents that nobody can vouch for them, it feels risky. So when you're getting referred by people that would like and trust, even though you might not know that agent, that feels, okay, I feel good using this person because John used them and John's trustworthy.
And I'll tell you the thing about communication, at least for our team too, that I'm trying to do, I'm trying to make it a great experience for the listing agent too. Because we're updating them at each milestone. So now a lot of times, then they see me at closing. A lot of times, the listing agent's like, my mortgage guy didn't do that. I don't get those kinds of updates. We have video updates. They're getting texted out to everybody, and it's me made the video. It's 5 or 7 seconds.
You said you just picked up a new realtor this morning off of one of my closings.
Off of one of Clint's closing, because we had a great closing. He's like, man, that went well.
Yeah.
And so he, on a Sunday night, he had one that was falling apart, and I'm going to be able to get it pre-approved. But that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Clint, because that was our closing together.
Yeah, and I kind of messed that one up and made it hard, and you got it done. So.
I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, I was going to say, would you be willing to share that? Are we not talking about it?
No. that's
everyone makes mistakes.
Clint and I are taking that one to the grave.
Okay. Well, I know about it, so that's fine. Yeah. I guess that's all the people need to know. Is there any advice that you might want to use from that experience that you'd like to share?
Send the contract over.
Don't wait 3 weeks on a 4-week contract.
Yeah. So, and that happens, and that sometimes happens with new agents because you don't think about it. And I know it happened with you with another one of our agents. Where get the contract to the lender, and that's one of those easy things that you forget about because you're like, oh, cool, we're under contract. I need to get the money to the title company. We got to get inspection, and you forgot to give it to the lender. How's the lender supposed to know to work the file without that information?
Right.
Well, and I thought 3 other people sent it, and they didn't.
Right.
That's what's crazy.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, that's just something that slipped through the cracks.
And the other player agent, he was representing his mom. So, and we got 2.5 weeks into that. But
yeah. No, they both got closed. They both have happy endings.
That's true. On time.
But that is one of those easy things that you can forget about. So make sure the lender gets the document.
It's the most important because obviously it doesn't start any process until we have the contract. Because we don't know, we have nothing to do outside of the pre-approval. Now we're just waiting.
Yeah. Well, and the second part to that is if say you're going to change the sales price or seller concessions with an amendment, if you don't get that to the title company and the lender too, it's not going to happen.
That's right.
And I've seen on the listing side, I saw an agent do that. She did not get her stuff to the lender, and those concessions didn't make it onto the CD. And I'm like, well, that sucks. Your buyer just lost $1,000 because you didn't get that to the lender.
That's exactly right. And I know you guys coach a lot of that stuff because these are.
Oh, I share these stories with our agents all the time.
These are really important issues.
Yeah.
And again, it all goes back to having your systems in place. I mean, maybe there's a checklist. Did I send the contract? Did I whatever? But it's just again communication because it's so key in our industry because there's so much going on, and these weeks fly by. When you get a contract, these weeks are flying by. They go very, very fast.
Especially in the summer and you're busy and
it goes
vacations and all the things. And I've noticed your system has changed a little bit because we have another one that we got pre-approved, and your assistant sent out 2 follow-ups since we first talked to make sure that they're not in the contract process.
That's right. Yeah.
Because we talked about it. He's like, he's like, look, I'm gonna take a little bit on that. You take a little bit on that.
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna do better. We have a new checkbox in our check sheet, and then he's like, I'm gonna have my assistant they need to be following up and making sure these guys, once they get a pre-approval, they're not in contract.
Right. And that's why. And again, as long as Clint and I have been in this business, you're still learning. Everybody, we're still learning. There's still so much that can fall apart. Just the little things. But I mean, we all learn from these transactions, and you do it and you go forward and tweak your system so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. No, I noticed that you and your assistant reached out to one of our buyers too to be like, we pre-approved you a couple weeks ago. Did you have a contract?
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's our Thursday.
We call it the Clint clause.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, you don't know. That could have saved a lot of other people.
It will one day.
It will.
Yeah, really.
It will. And we've just been doing this recently, these more touch points, and we've had them thank us. Hey, helping them stay on top of their game as well.
Yeah. 100%. So let's end this with vetting lenders because we want to make sure agents are partnering with the right people. What are some questions they can ask to make sure that they are working with the right lenders, especially because we have buyers, and I have this right now where we sent our recommended people and she still came up with her own lender and was like, here's who I decided. And I'm like, crap, I don't know this person.
Right. So, to me, it's important, like Clint was saying, I mean, to work with the lenders, because this is a complex process. It is. Lending is complex. There's a lot that can go on. And so my whole thing is you just want to surround yourself with the right people. And like Clint was saying, find maybe a preferred lender that has a team, that has, that they have their systems in place. I talk about our team all the time, and we're not just brokers, we're bankers too. We fund with our own money. I've got my own underwriters, my own processors, and that's important. I've been doing it 24 years. I've earned that part of it to
Right.
where now I can extend that value to the people that are referring business to us.
Well, people don't realize how big of a deal that is having in-house underwriting because
It's
you're not
huge.
going into a queue in the West Coast
That's
or the
correct.
East Coast and you're waiting for 400 files to go through. It's like it's in and it's done that day or the next day.
Right.
And that's a big difference when you're up against timelines.
It's huge. And our underwriters will call me all the time, Matt, I'm stumped. Can't get past this or that. Tell me more about this file.
and it doesn't go to the back of the queue. It gets fixed right then.
It gets fixed right there. That's a huge value. And with me, and I'm with going to the closings on a Friday afternoon or whatever, I'm there. And if I'm there, I'm already doing an instant messenger to our funding department. Hey, they're getting ready to fax over for funding. Oh, thanks, Matt, for giving us a heads up. And then we're out of there in 20 minutes. It's been funded. I mean, a lot of times if you don't have those relationships or you're not structured that way, and you're only a broker, and you're sending these files off to Wyoming and Nebraska, and you have a great relationship with that lender, but you're one of many, and you're trying to fund on a Friday afternoon, or you're trying to get an answer on something. It's very difficult.
Well, I think that's when agents when their buyers are working with the big banks, and you're trying to close on a Friday, and they're waiting for the lending documents to get approved before they fund it. You might be waiting until Monday.
That's exactly right.
If it's East Coast, 5 o'clock they shut down. That's 4 o'clock.
That's
our
right.
time, and they're done.
Yep.
And you're waiting until Monday to get that thing done. And I've had
That's
that
exactly
happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
So one of the questions if they're going to use a big bank or something, I want to know, are they East Coast or West Coast? At least with West Coast, I get a couple more
Hours is great.
Right.
And that's a huge part. For us, we send that day of closing, we send the money immediately. It goes out in the morning. So the title company's sitting on our money.
Yeah.
And then the good thing about what our closers will do, when we have closings that are out, it's assumed that they're going to stay as late as we need to. I mean, I've had them fund at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and then I'm doing a pizza party for them on Monday.
Yeah, and you've got to have a title company willing to stay too. So
exactly.
it's a whole group effort with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And, Clint has his relationships. I have my relationships. We've all worked with these title companies for so many years. They know that, we need a favor, and they're willing to do it for us, And it doesn't happen all the time, but I mean, it's good. That's what I'm saying. Surrounding yourself with the right people.
Right. The right title company, the right lenders, everybody.
It can go so smooth.
Yeah.
And that's what, for some of the newer agents to know that, my brother just got in the business last year and he's, working out of his house. And I mean, there's a lot that can go wrong there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, even insurance. If insurance doesn't come through in time, I mean, you're not going to close. There's so many little things that can fall apart. But we do talk about that in the mentor program. Friday closings can always be risky if you don't have the right title company, the right lender.
Yep.
Your buyer wants to close after they get off work at 4, 5 o'clock. Okay, well, I hope they didn't want to move until Monday
Right,
because that's
right.
probably what's going to happen.
That's right.
So then do a Thursday closing if that's going to be the case. So that way it can fund before the weekend.
And how many people want to close on Friday? I mean, that's 75% of the closing.
End of the month and Friday. I don't know why. I'm always beginning of the month and Thursday.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because once you close, the clock starts ticking on that. You're just paying days of interest when you own it.
I will say you get a lot better service if you close the 4th or 5th day of the month.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then you don't have a payment for almost 2 months.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So, but I mean, it's critical to know, being in the business as long as Clint has been, to know that the landmines that you could step on.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, and he's been in it a long time.
A long time. I don't even know how many closings he's had.
That's a lot.
125,000.
1 million.
1 million, yes.
We were talking the other day. I think our team has cumulatively closed probably about $750 million in
Unbelievable.
real estate. That's a lot.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll hit $1 billion here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, how many? There can't be too many agents in the whole country that can even say something.
There's a few, but it's not. Most people give up because it's hard.
It's a tough business already. It's a very tough business in the market that we're in. So when you see people that are having success and they're having wins, and to me, it's important to celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to celebrate the wins because there's a lot of heartache in these markets as well. I mean, we all need to be picked up and we all need to be celebrated and loved on.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a tough. We do it with our loan officers. We've got a lot of loan officers that have only had a couple closings the whole year, just like. A realtor, they were saying last year, and these are people that, the kids are in college, their wife doesn't work, and they're used to having 4 or 5 closings a month. Now they have 1 closing a month or something. That's hard to make it.
It's a feast or famine business.
It really is.
And you got to learn to survive the famines.
It really is. And for me, I mean, there's, I say all the time, I mean, I've got a big team. There's months I don't go without I'll go without a paycheck. And in January or something, it's super slow, but my team still gets paid. Here I am working 55, 60 hours and make 0.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to write my company a check for my medical insurance that I never used.
Yeah, we have, I've had a lot of those months.
Those are tough months, but again, because you've been in the business, I've always been a big saver. I'm prepared for rainy days. I mean, this has been a hurricane, but I'm prepared.
This rain,
it's been raining. We're flooding. It's Harvey again, all over.
Yeah. No, for real estate agents, we talk about like sometimes 50 to 70% of your income is going to be made in the summer.
That's
you
correct.
need to be able to survive the rest of the year. Don't get too comfortable with this particular income because each month is going to look different. But summer is usually your feast months.
So March to September, that's 80% of my income every year, March to September.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the nice thing, and Clint and I have talked about this before, is, those slower months, those are decompressed months. You take your vacation in January.
Yep. Tighten up your systems.
Exactly. Yeah. It's also cheaper to go on vacation in January most of the time.
Definitely.
So kind of works out a little bit.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Work on your business plan and reaching out to your people. It's setting that pipeline up and, really doing all your touches again during those times.
Yeah.
One of the things that helps me a lot, I mean, I'm friends with a lot of my competitors, a lot of them. I bet friends with 20, 25 of them. We've been doing it for a long time. Chris Nooney and I are good friends. We learn from each other. We have kind of these mastermind discussions. What happened to you this week? Well, I had this happen. Thanks for the heads up. And I make sure that doesn't happen in my system. So we lean on each other, and try to help each other out, and so that's important.
Yeah. No, agents need to be going to masterminds and just collaborating with other agents because it's a little dog eat dog, but you need to talk to the other dogs out there because we learn from each other.
Because it's a small world. I mean, how many times do we run into the same agents and same mortgage and same time? I mean, it's really a small, tight community. So I've said this for years. You don't want to burn any bridges because you're going to show up again somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to be very positive and try to make deals happen and try to. Sometimes I'm Dr. Phil in these transactions. I mean, the buyer and seller agents aren't getting along, and I know how to fix it. So I jump in and fix it. And to me, it's just about trying to add additional value because I want to. Again, I'm trying to be referable. Why would I use this guy? Well, he's a mortgage guy that was Dr. Phil, kept it together.
Yeah.
He had ideas. He knew how to. He's been in this situation before. The bad air conditioner, or cracked driveway, or whatever.
Yeah.
How do we fix this?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anything else that you would like to add on lending? Because I think we kind of hit all the major hurdles, unless you have anything else to add, Clint.
Yeah, I think that's it. What we talked about yesterday. And
yeah, I think for me with just we talked about the market coming down. Once we get into a normal market, and they're saying end of Q1 next year, February, March.
When was the last time we had a normal market?
21. Well, it started going. So 22 from February. This is when you and I can pinpoint it to when we did that open house that one time. We had 40 people out in front. Remember that? The cars were lined up. That's when the market started to turn.
Yes, I just had my hysterectomy, and I was like, okay, great, this is so busy.
It was unbelievable how flooded that was. But that's, that was
Would
April.
you still say that was the best open house?
Yes, it really was.
I had the best open house. I had a mega open house.
It was at 10 o'clock in the morning, and literally, Ashley can tell you, there was cars lined up on both sides. It was
February, and it was raining.
Yes.
It was so cold, and I was like, it's going to be so dead, but we're going to do this.
But you know why? Rates were starting to go up.
Yeah.
So that's when the feds that year, they had 10 Fed funds increases. So interest rates went from 3.25% to 7.5% in 16 months.
Oh,
just a little over a year.
Yeah,
that much. And so, as you saw, I mean, and this is the one I want to kind of explain too. That we say right now, and I've said it 1,000 times. Marry the home, date the rate. We've continued to say that, but this is the time to buy right now. This is a buyer's market. It's a time to buy. You're going to win. Competition's very minimal, but when these rates start to come down, because typically I'll have 15 or so people in my pipeline pre-approved and looking. I think we've got 86 or 87 people right now over the course of several years. The people that are still engaged, because when these rates start to come down, good for me because they're going to get in. But it's going to be tough for veterans, first-time home buyers, because the people that win in that environment.
Exactly what it was during COVID.
FHA and VA.
Same thing.
Yeah,
first-time home. Yeah,
can't get rid of the appraisal clause.
No, you can't do that. That escape clause, you can't get rid of that. But it's usually these are people that are paying cash or 20% down.
Yeah.
Even though I can still get them the closing table, they're still going to get their same amount of money, but it's a lot less riskier when you have that strong of a contract. So,
right.
So I've always said, about this, get in now. Yeah, maybe your mortgage payment's another $200 or $300 a month. Okay, that's $3,600 a year. You're far better off to take that on than to try to buy the same house 6 to 8 months from now, and it's going to drive up $20,000-$30,000.
Yeah, and then you refinance it and get the payment back down again.
You refinance it because we say this is the lowest these prices of homes are going to be right now for the next 5 years. We believe that because again, once the rates are coming down, they're going to start driving these home prices back up.
Yeah.
So you think Q2 next year is when we'll start seeing the rate? Probably,
I do.
What, 6%, 6.25%? Where do you think people get off the fence?
They're thinking high 5s, low 6s.
Okay.
I did most of my career. I went back and looked like 19, 20 years of my 24-year career were in the
6s.
Yeah, we're in the low 6s. So that's really a normal market, I think, is the low 6s. Last year, it got to 6.25 in August for like just a couple weeks. I did more business in September and October than I had done the previous 4 months combined, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
So that just tells me that we're obviously rate driven.
Yeah.
We're rate driven. People don't have issues with the prices of homes. They really don't. It's the affordability. Completely, 100%.
Yeah.
That's good.
No, I agree. Well, thank you so much. I think this was really great.
Thank you.
Great info.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah.
Appreciate it.
So, would you like to provide any contact info, how agents can reach you?
Yes, please. So Matt Brown with Encompass Lending Group. Phone number is 281-630-3777. Email is mbrown@encompasslending.com.
Thank you. I'm Ashley Gebora, and Afterthought Clint right here with me. We are brokered by Blair Realty Group. We are in the Houston market. If you're looking for an agent or a great brokerage, give us a call at 281-698-0240. If you have any questions you'd like to hear answered here or episode requests, no guarantees, but you can send those over to ashley@blairrg.com. Remember, everything we say here is for educational purposes only. It's always a good idea for you to do your own research, and remember that most real estate laws are state specific. And lastly, don't forget that knowledge is your greatest asset in real estate. Stay educated, stay proactive, and as always, keep hustling.